What is going on, everybody? It's KB. Before the episode starts, make sure you go check out StreamerSZN's brand new theme music. That's right. We have full-time, brand new theme music thanks to the newest homie and newest member of the music side of Underground Sports Philadelphia homies. That is Mobley. Stay Volk. His new single is out now. It is linked in the description on YouTube, and you'll be hearing it on audio until we can figure out if we can play it on video on StreamerSZN episodes from here on out. That's our new theme music. Stay Volk. Go download it now wherever you get your music, and go check out the music video on YouTube. But now, let's get into the episode of StreamerSZN.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Speaking of goats, Dylan, do you know who I saw today while I was at the day job?
Pedro Pascal?
I wish. Pretty close, though, in terms of handsomeness.
Michael Fassbender?
Getting warmer.
Wait, warmer?
This gentleman is white.
Who's more handsome than Michael Fassbender?
Glenn Carbonara.
It's actually pretty funny. He's a good-looking guy, but that's not who I thought you were going to say.
It's great.
Local legend, Glenn Carbonara.
I was like, how's everybody? He's like, they're good. Zach, still at home.
Oh. You tell him to leave Zach alone.
Leave Billy alone.
He's a nice young man. My computer just froze. All right, well, I don't need a computer. I'm ready. I'm just gonna fidget. I'm good.
What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome into another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform, TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. It's another OG episode. Just me, KB, and Dylan. Christian will be back hopefully next week once we get all the scheduling figured out, because Christian has college courses, so we're figuring out the scheduling, and then hopefully my life will be in order where I can finally sit down and start watching Ted Lasso as we promised to the people. But we've got a Mandalorian season 3 finale to get into, so we have another overall show score for 2023. We're going to talk about the Love is Blind live debacle that was, and if streaming platforms should be doing live content. And then we'll get into the streaming platform Multiverse news and notes, where had some big announcements with projects across the board, including ones that are near and dear to Dylan and I's childhood that we will more than likely be like rewatching to enjoy, but also discussing on the pod, because I feel like those movies need reviews. But before we get started, make sure you guys follow us on the socials, Twitter and Instagram at StreamerSZN. Follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed. And Dylan, before I have you say the line, I have been recommended a show that is pretty popular on the interwebs, and have been told it's like a 9-10 out of 10.
What show is this? I'm very curious now.
That is the new Netflix hit that is number 2 on their charts the last time I checked. Beef.
Well, funny.
I have been told so many good things about this and said that we need to watch it for the podcast.
My girlfriend and I started that. I think we are 2 episodes in, and I can confirm it's a wild ride so far, and I think it would be good for the pod.
So we might be adding Beef to the docket in the near future now that The Mandalorian is somehow already over. But obviously Ted Lasso's coming onto the docket, so
yes, sir.
We might be adding Beef as well. Since it is a Netflix show, it's one of those things that can be binged right through. But Dylan, for the people, for the sake of the people, say the line.
Say the line. The line is that of which I say every week. If you are a first-time listener, though, I will gladly tell you for the first time. The line is for you to recommend something for Kyle, myself, and Christian returns back from his edumacation of what to watch, whether it's a movie, a TV show, and we have all the services combined at this point. So let us know, and you're going to let us know by leaving it in the comment section of YouTube or in a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you listen.
Yes, definitely leave those 5-star reviews. It does help the show continue to grow, and it gives us source material to sift through and
Yes.
start watching shows and movies that you guys want us to watch. And like Dylan said, you can also leave them in the YouTube comment section at youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, click the bell icon, comment your shows and movies, comment your thoughts on everything we discuss on the episode. We are on that road to 500 subscribers, on that road to 1,000 subscribers. You already know what happens at 1K. Dylan's cosplaying this October at Comic-Con, and I will be watching season 1 of Game of Thrones. So if you want that to happen, subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. We're currently at 437 subscribers. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it pushing and keep the good vibes flowing.
Sure.
But Dylan, we are sadly at the finale of another season of a flagship show of StreamerSZN. The Mandalorian season 3 finale is here, chapter 24. It's brought to you by our good friends over at W Energy. I've got my W right now. This is the first time I've been home all day today, so I certainly needed to go and get my W on. And they
Had quite a day. He needs it.
quite a day. They are the best in the game. They just celebrated their 2-year anniversary earlier this week. So happy birthday to Dubby. And Dylan, you know what they did to celebrate their birthday? They released a brand new shaker with a nifty looking panda on it and a brand new flavor that I think might pique your interest. Dylan, are you ready to hear this new Dubby flavor?
I am. What's the flavor?
It is titled Cali O Cream, and it is mango orange cream.
Ooh, that does sound good. The
Nice
flavor.
little creamsicle action, if you ask me, with a hint of mango in there. Perfect for summertime. Throw that on some ice. Hachi Machi. We got some coming to the studio over the next couple of days, so that will be here, and I'm very excited to try that. I am sipping on the Beach and Peach Mango Peach Cooler right now, and W has kept us energized since day one. They are the best in the game. It's 0 calories, 0 sugars, 0 maltodextrin fillers, no artificial dyes or colors, and it's clean and jitter and crash-free energy, unlike those big energy brands that W is waging war on. You guys can go to w.gg. Link is in the description on YouTube and in the podcast show notes. And use code Underground when you check out. You get 10% off any and all orders from our friends over at W. They're the best in the game. Clean up your energy game with W Energy. Code Underground for 10% off your order. Dylan, chapter 24, The Return is the title of this episode, directed by Rick Famuyiwa, who I think is part of that core 4 of the Mandoverse. It's Rick, it's Bryce Dallas Howard, it's Jon Favreau, and it's obviously our Lord and Savior Dave Filoni. Rick directed last week's episode as well, and the first episode of this season. He's been kind of in the mix almost since Jump Street. I'm pretty sure he directed episodes in season 1 too.
I think so.
So he's been around, and I think he's like a core part of like the directorial staff for the Mandoverse here on out. Before we dive into the episode and give you a spoiler warning, just want to get your overall thoughts on the episode that was chapter 24 and how you felt it kind of wrapped up this season. A lot happened in the 33-minute runtime that was this episode. Still a lot of questions, I would say, that I would like some answers to. Maybe we get answers in Ahsoka as we push forward with the rise of the First Order and everything. But your thoughts on chapter 24, Dylan?
Very mixed as a whole, as the series or the season for a whole, and same as with 24. I felt like it started off kind of bleh, and then it built itself up, and then I don't want to say disappointment because I do think this ended better than the season started, but I don't think I necessarily loved how it ended, and I'll go into that more. But as a whole, I think it was fine. I think there was some nice action, and things were concluded. But I also do think it raises a lot of questions, like you alluded to, and I just kind of feels like it makes me wanting more, but not like in the cliffhanger kind of way, like in the way in which I just kind of feel like I needed more.
Mm-hmm. It almost, yeah, I know we make a lot of comparisons on this show to the show I'm about to reference. It almost reminds me of season 3 of Stranger Things, where you got like build up and you got more plot development, character development, and learned a lot more about kind of what is going on in the greater Star Wars universe. And then like the ending of season 3, it's like, damn, I have so many questions about what's going on. Like we got left on a cliffhanger with that show. This
Yeah.
one not necessarily a cliffhanger, but it's like there's so much that's left untapped. Like, where are we going to go from here? Who is going to like progress this story forward now? Which we'll get into. I have a theory on what season 4 could be, because Jon Favreau has come out and said he wants to do 6 seasons, I think, of The Mandalorian. So we're only halfway kind of through this iteration of the Mandoverse. But I do feel like, unlike, a Stranger Things, the Mandoverse has other parts to it where like we got season 2.5 kind of with the Book of Boba Fett. Ahsoka, I think, is going to have a lot of things that happened in The Mandalorian continue on in that show. So I think there's other like moving parts that like Dave Filoni is one of those guys where he's like you and I, you want to watch everything. You want to get an idea of what's going on by watching everything. Where in a lot of other instances, like some other universes and stuff, you don't have to watch everything to kind of understand it. Dave Filoni is one of those guys that he wants you to get a taste of everything so that when it does culminate in what will be that 2026 Mandoverse movie, you're going to understand everything if you watch all the shows that built up to that moment.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, and it is interesting to think that we potentially have 3 more seasons of this show, potentially like the half seasons, as you alluded to, with the Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian, and the movie as well. So there's definitely a lot more to come, and I'm curious to see how it all wraps up years from now. But yeah.
Yeah, so we are going to get into the breakdown of the episode. So this is your patent pending spoiler warning. If you have
Yes.
not watched chapter 24, season 3, episode 8 of The Mandalorian, pause this episode, go watch that, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown with us. So here we go. Bo-Katan and her reconnaissance squad retreat from Moff Gideon's base, and upon returning to the Mandalorian flagship, Axe Woves sends the remaining Mandalorian fleet to reinforce the planetary troops while he uses the ship as a decoy
We
for
learned
attacking Imperial TIE squadrons. I thought that scene was really cool.
that scene was cool. A lot of the camera angles of the jetpack troops, like
Yes.
show like behind like their helmets and stuff. That was sick. That's what I'm talking. Like effects wise, this episode was awesome. Just plot wise, I'm kind of left wanting more. But that was cool as well. Watching him ascend in jetpack via through like I guess it's like the weather atmosphere.
Yeah, it was like breaking like the planet atmosphere that they were on and then going up and everything. And I also thought like some of the angles where it almost felt like you were in the pilot's chair of the ship and they were showing you like the frontal view of the TIE squadron coming at you and being effectively, Suey bombers. That was like really cool. And like imagine, I was like, oh, thank goodness I don't have like 3D glasses on watching this, because that would be terrifying.
That would be
But I thought the camera angles that they worked with that was really well done, and really like added to that entire scene and kind of just the pressure that Axe Woves was in. So job well done by the camera crew there.
yeah.
So with assistance from Grogu, Mando escapes from captivity and seeks out Gideon, fighting off numerous stormtroopers along the way.
See, that's already one of the biggest. I'm gonna say it now, so I'm gonna say it later. That's already one of the biggest my pet peeves. How quickly he escaped. Like really, like like I mean, you can disagree and that's fine, but like I just feel like what this man's capable of, and you like make a big deal about capturing one of them being Din Djarin. It's like I would have liked an interrogation scene. I think whether or not you agree he broke through too easily or broke free too easily. I think we both agree. Most people probably agree. I would have liked like dialogue with an interrogation between the two characters.
Yeah, I do think there was a little bit missing there. What I did enjoy about this whole scene with R5, like unlocking all the doors
Yeah.
and everything, that was the first aspect of this episode that felt very like nod to like a video game. where it was like, oh, you accomplished this feat, move forward. You
Yes.
accomplished this feat, collect your weapon. And I thought it was a smart job by whoever wrote that portion of the script to say like Mando didn't have any weapons. I thought that was very key. Because I think a lot of people, if he wouldn't have said that, would have been like, oh, just use your blaster, use this, use that. He didn't have
Right.
anything on him, and he had
He
to
was a
earn
scab-
like the weaponry and everything. I thought that was a cool aspect of that scene.
Yeah, no, I liked it. It was like because each little grid essentially there was more people to fight, and it was like progressing, like you were saying, progressing through the levels, so to speak, and using different toys he found along the way, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think the you kind of knew that obviously R5 was going to get out of it, but the little mouse droids, which is what they called them if you have the captions on, that snuck up on him and like were little rats and ratting out R5, those little shitheads. That whole scene was like, if you're like 8 years old watching The Mandalorian, you're like, oh shit, like, is he gonna get through? Is he gonna get through? But like, if you're us, you're obviously gonna know, like, that's gonna build up to like just building the suspense and like,
Mhm.
obviously your hero's gonna win. But I did like that they brought in those little rats to kind of deter R5, and Mando was like, you motherfucking droid, because it shows like again that like Din doesn't trust droids, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago too, where like he's obviously got to work with this droid because that's what Pelimoto gave him, but he doesn't have any trust for droids or robots or anything like that because of his past and his upbringing and what he went through. So it kind of was like pushing him on the edge of like, what am I doing trusting a droid again?
Yeah, no, he definitely will always probably have droid trust issues, and he definitely was warranted in his mind to have it now or at that scene. But it was cool seeing the parallels. Like obviously the droid's not doing anything distrustful. It's just preoccupied with little mouse droids, like you said, and that's a cool little cutaway. Yeah, no, I like once again I enjoyed that aspect, and I enjoyed like the effects of that, like having to go through each laser room. That was fine.
That was cool. And then that final slide through was very I'm a cowboy.
Pedro Pascal, like I said on here before, only plays cowboys. Space Cowboy, Apocalypse Cowboy, Western Cowboy, like in Kingsman.
Poorly cast villain cowboy in Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, medieval cowboy in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he is a cowboy.
That's
At
what he
least he's
does.
not a Dallas cowboy.
No, hopefully we never get that
He's a
biopic.
Chilean cowboy.
Yes.
So we have the mouse droids and everything. So then Mando and Grogu discover cloning tanks filled with clones of Moff Gideon.
See, that didn't feel suspenseful to me. Like them discovering it, it just kind of felt like I don't want to say rushed, but there was no like build up. It was
It
just
was
like,
kind
oh,
of a known thing that they were there from last week's
that's
episode too.
but we didn't know he was cloning himself, right? You know what I
Right.
mean?
We didn't know what they were truly cloning because in season 2, like when they were at that one section where Dr. Pershing was, like they kind of just looked like Snoke clones. We didn't
Yeah,
really know Moff Gideon was taking like the cloning technology and using it for himself,
I
which is
thought he
kind of like
cloned.
full-blown
Yeah,
narcissist.
yeah, it is. Well, yeah, that's an understatement. Understatement of the century. But so good thing they got destroyed. A second later after this, we're talking. But I thought he was just like because there were so many stormtroopers. Like I felt like he had a lot of troopers or whatever they're called, dark troopers, purge troopers, whatever. There were so many of them. I thought they were the clones. You know what I mean? Like I thought he was clone troopers again and make his own like clone legion. But in fact, like Kyle said, he was just a narcissist and cloned himself.
Yeah, and nice little jump scare in that scene too where Grogu pulls up on the one and he's just like eyes open, suspenseful music plays. I can't wait for my mom to watch the episode and absolutely jump out of her skin because that's what she's prone to doing. But then they end up destroying them, and I want to ask you this, Dylan, because they are on Mandalore for this like secret base and everything.
Yeah.
Do you think Moff Gideon was using the ancient waters of Mandalore to like hibernate his and grow his clones? Like, was that the water that was in those tanks? Because I think it might have been.
I think it might have been two, but we'll find out if that actually has any meaning. Like if the water has any like scientific effect, or if he just needed like a liquid to put in there, and that happened to be, what I mean, drawn from source. And either way, I think that's a good call, and do agree with that. I'm just curious if it like actually, you know, like does something or if it's just water.
Because I think it could have been the living water since they were on Mandalore, and then, you know, flashback to when we first meet up with Grogu and Mando's going on that quest to find him and everything. They're trying to get his blood, and Moff Gideon brings up that he's trying to, you know, be force, you know, have the force in his clones and everything. I'm wondering if, you know, that final scene where Grogu looks into the water and then our old pal the Mythosaur wakes up, if that has some kind of connection there with the Jedi and with the Mandalorian and everything like that, and then the living waters like help kind of procure and advance the development of the clones.
Mhm.
Hopefully we find out in future seasons, but the Moff Gideon clones are no more, thank goodness, because one Moff Gideon might be too many. So Mando destroys them, and the Mandalorians and the remaining Beskar-enhanced stormtroopers engage in a lengthy skirmish within the base, ending in victory for the Mandalorians. Mando confronts Gideon, who reveals that the clones would have been able to use the Force, which would have been absolutely insane. To have Moff Gideon clones using the Force is terrifying.
It was
I couldn't even imagine, like, especially if he had more of those Beskar armors that he himself had on to throw on Force wielding Moff Gideons, that would be insane.
yeah. If you get some like lightsabers, forget about it.
Or even like the purple like probe sticks, like
Oh yeah, the ones the guards have.
yeah, that would have been insane. Um, but he's unable to match Gideon's own suit of Beskar armor, which like that thing was powerful.
It was very powerful. I mean, it seems like it was made with obviously Beskar, but also like had the most modern enhancements, so to speak. I mean, like we talked about before, he's not really a good fighter, so it makes him proficient enough to be able to stand his ground against people who can fight.
Which makes me think, and I think we talked about this last week too, like when we saw his armor initially, like the living waters had to come in play because of how we saw the armor wield that new piece of Bo-Katan's armor and then the chest plate for Grogu. Like Beskar was supposed to be this difficult thing to come along, and it was this like glorious thing that Mando had a full blown Beskar Mandalorian suit. So the fact that Moff Gideon like took base on Mandalore, he had to have found Beskar and then probably wielded it in some sort of
Well, I
hybrid tank of the living waters.
told you my morbid theory is he just walked around and eluded the ex-inhabitants and took their stuff and smelted it down. But no, I mean, I do agree. It's definitely not as rare as we are led to believe. I do think it's still rare. Like, it's only found on that planet. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
it took a decent amount to make Din's armor, I feel like, the first time through. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, you know?
So then we get Bo-Katan arriving, and she duels with Moff Gideon, which I thought this scene was really cool. The battle between these two, we finally get to see it actually happen.
Yeah.
And she duels with the dark saber, allowing Mando to leave and fight and defeat the Praetorian guards with Grogu, which I also, as maybe like kid friendly as that scene was, I kind of really enjoyed Grogu like just force bouncing around those Praetorian guards and making them look like absolute buffoons. Because Grogu just knew their every move and was able to dodge them. I kind of really enjoyed that. And it's like, even in a time of like dire need and it feels like Grogu needs saving, he's able to fend for himself.
He is very defensive oriented, which is good. Like, he wasn't force choking or doing any alarming signs. And yeah, no, it was enlightful. Like, he was able to dodge, like you said, and hold his own very well, and then also still kind of giggle. It seemed like while doing so.
He's a little sicko.
Yeah, he might be might worry about by the time we get to the end of the show.
He's like the sickos meme, except you just got to put his face on it. It's like, yes, yes.
Just Grogu.
But I do agree with you, and we brought this up at the top. That moment when Mando is fighting with Moff Gideon, I do wish that, you know, when he kind of like lasso roped him or, you know, knocked him down with the blaster or whatever, that there was a little more dialogue involved there to
Yeah,
kind of just like set the tone of like Moff Gideon's like he is the big bad kind of this season, because sure, we got the Thrawn name drop, but we kind of all knew Thrawn wasn't going to show up until Ahsoka anyway, because that's kind of like her battle to fight. but I do wish that there was more like back and forth between those two, because last season ended with Mando disarming Moff Gideon of the Darksaber. Let's go round 2. Let's fight a little more. Let's talk a little more. Let's have that dialogue and create like this tension between these two characters.
Yeah, no, you always want to expand on a story in which you're like spinning. You know what I mean? Like you always want to like dig deeper if you can, and if the plot allows for it. And I felt like we were deprived of that with the no interrogation scene, and we were deprived of that with what you just brought up with the. I didn't even think about that with the fight scene. There should have been a little more dialogue. It's pretty like cheesy textbook. Like you're evil, I'll stop you, and no, my plan is foiled.
And it is more so like, yes, Moff Gideon is more assimilated to Bo-Katan with like their history and everything. So I get like bringing her in to like go full blown like duel. But I do wish that there was a little more between Mando and Gideon, because there is, there's beef there, and you want to hash that out as much as you can. Here's the part of the episode that I was like, damn, like why did they not let this cook, and they like shuffled it down on the spreadsheet a little bit. So as they're dueling, Moff Gideon destroys the Darksaber, but is overpowered by the combined efforts of Mando, Bo-Katan, and Grogu. The Darksaber being destroyed in kind of just like a throwaway moment, it seemed like, was very odd to me.
Yeah, that's another thing I didn't necessarily agree with. Like it just felt like oh, now your thing's broken. Like, well, what do you mean our thing's broken? This was a very important like
it's this important like symbolic thing of Mandalorian culture that has stemmed through Clone Wars, Rebels, and now live action. And it's like you based your season 1 finale on this big bad wielding the Darksaber, and it's like, how the hell did this guy come across this? And it just felt like with that being destroyed, it should have been something more like hitting you in the feels, like being like, oh shit, like the Darksaber's destroyed. Like that was the only one. It was this rare hybrid lightsaber thing that was meant for the Mandalorian to kind of go toe to toe with the Jedi. And now it's gone. And like this weapon that Bo-Katan is known for, this weapon that Din could never get a grasp of, is just completely destroyed now and gone. And I get destroying it, but like not emphasizing it was kind of odd to me.
The only reason I can see destroying it is so you can have some kind of like arc in which it gets reforged or rebuilt, being that like you can potentially do that if the Kyber crystal's still intact. But then also maybe there's symbolism of it being destroyed in terms of there won't finally be a coup of Mandalore and they're united as a people.
That's how I saw it.
But either way, it wasn't. It's not depicted like that. You and I, or anyone doing what we're doing now, talking about it, that's like afterthought, like reasoning. It's a very throwaway, just like almost like swatting a fly away, kind of just like it happens. It's there. It's
effectively like being like, oh, I'm gonna go, and it's like Obi-Wan and Darth Vader going toe to toe in the Obi-Wan series, and that awesome scene we had that you and I both loved, and
love that scene.
Darth Vader just like crushing Obi-Wan's lightsaber, or vice versa. And it's like, oh, you lost your lightsaber. You're done. Your weapon of choice is gone. And like, it's one of those things that just has such a dark rooted history with the Mandalorian like culture. I understood like the destruction of it, because now it's like, okay, the Mandalorian can move forward. They don't have to worry about who's on top of the food chain almost with their culture. Is it, helmets on, helmets off, who's in charge type of thing, who's leading us. You can kind of exist as one. But it just felt like they like made the destruction of it a throwaway portion of that epic fight scene. And I think you and I both agree, like the Moff Gideon Bo-Katan fight scene was pretty awesome. Especially the line that Moff Gideon delivers where it's like, surrender the Darksaber and I'll give you a warrior's death. That was true, like shrill and evil from Moff Gideon.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That was evil. But I just feel like it just left me lacking. It just left me wanting more with a lot of that, and I'm sad I feel that way, but it's okay. That's just my opinion.
I think a lot of people felt that way about that portion of the scene too. Like, we're not alone in wanting that to be a little more elevated. So Axe Woes rams the Mandalorian capital ship into the Imperial base, and Gideon is consumed by the resulting blast in that ever existing pose, Dylan, where you're just getting engulfed by flames and you have to look like you're Christ on the cross.
He's like, you know what? This is it.
So this is love.
he done did.
Now I have a question for you.
I have
Because you and I always talk about this whenever big moment happens. And we said last week, Moff Gideon felt like a character that was too big to not bring to the silver screen. Sure, they show him getting engulfed by flames.
No, he had a super powered suit on, bro.
Right. I was gonna ask you, do you think he actually died? Because they didn't show a body whatsoever on screen. They just showed the flames engulfing him. So you and I are on the same page. He's not dead.
No, he's very much probably Jay chilling. he's alive.
Okay. I wanted to make sure we were on the same page. I thought we would be. But I feel like a lot of people are just like, oh yeah, he's dead. He's gone. It's like, Moff Gideon feels like one of those characters who's kind of like Darth Maul, where he just keeps on coming back.
Get rid of him like that.
Moff Gideon's going to use one of those robotic spiders probably and be Darth Maul 2.0.
I mean, he's already dressed like him.
Now, do you, like, obviously he also said that the clones were destroyed. Do you think any of his clones survived too?
That could be the other. So we could basically, you said what I was going to say. So maybe he dies, but maybe a clone survives, kind of thing, which is still him surviving.
Mm-hmm.
And make more sense, because what was the point of, besides connecting loose dots of the terrible new 3 movies? what's the connection? And I guess Grogu too, because he might be a clone. Of having Force sensitive clones,
Right.
So I feel like it's either explaining like loose plot points, or it's setting up the potential for what you just said and we talked about, for a Moff Gideon clone to have survived ? With Force abilities. I don't know. We'll find out.
I feel like Moff Gideon is such a big character now in the live action space of Star Wars that, like, no pun intended there with space, that like he still has, like, there's still so many unanswered questions with him, and I feel like he is like an underling of Thrawn and is kind of like one of the second in commands, if you will, to Thrawn. So I feel like there's still stories to be told with Moff Gideon.
Oh, for sure. And there's not enough like big bads in that show, so he's kind of the only one, unless we get another one soon.
So then we keep it moving here as like I mentioned, the capital ship crashes into the Imperial base. Gideon's consumed by the resulting blast. Grogu protects Bo-Katan and Mando from the blast with a force bubble. Grogu's force power. Shout out to Luke. Which that scene, that still shot, somebody posted that on Twitter. I saved it to my phone because it is such a gorgeous like still shot from this episode where the flames are kind of just around them and like moving past them while Grogu's got this force bubble around them while they're looking at what's going on. It's just such a gorgeous scene, and whoever said, yeah, let's do that, job well done. Like, beautiful photo, beautiful shot, beautiful scene. I love that portion of everything happening.
Yeah, no, that was cool. Once again, cool effects. Just didn't like some of the plot choices.
So after the battle, the Mandalorians restart the Great Forge at the heart of Mandalore, and Mando formally adopts Grogu. Daddy Pedro is truly Daddy Pedro, allowing him to become his apprentice, because the armorer was like, motherfucker, he can't talk. He's too young. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, but he's adopted now. That's all that matters.
So he is adopted, and he is now Din Grogu. And afterwards, Mando takes up honest contract work with Carson Teva and moves into a cabin on the outskirts of Navarro's capital, as previously offered to him by Grief Karga. And in that little bar area, Grogu recognizes a head of an old friend, or that looks like an old friend, and IG-11 is rebuilt by the Anzellan mechanics. Hey! To serve as Navarro's new marshal. Cara Dune is probably somewhere off-world punching air that a robot stole her job.
That's a joke within a joke. I like that.
Here's my take on that final sequence there, because then we get, obviously, Mando and Grogu chilling at his cabin. Grogu's levitating with the Force, a little frog.
And the same take as mine with this.
And then we get that fun little closing bubble circle that is very common with Star Wars endings. My take on what season 4 of The Mandalorian is going to be. Tommy Bechtold sparked this in my brain too. And as I was watching, I felt this way. And I was like, am I dumb for feeling this? And then Tommy said it. And I was like, okay, I'm not that dumb. Shout out to Tommy Bechtold. Season 4 of The Mandalorian is going to be very much more like season 1, in my opinion, where you have like these Clone Wars, monster task of the week type things going on, because now Mando is, a freelance bounty hunter for the New Republic for hire. So I think there's going to be more of those type of missions. And Jon Favreau has said, like, The Mandalorian itself, like the show itself, isn't necessarily about Din Djarin. It is like just The Mandalorian. So I think we mentioned this last time we broke down season 2. Like, Grogu is eventually going to be the Mandalorian.
Now it's about Grogu. It's like all but confirmed. It's, because he's the Mandalorian, and it's called The Mandalorian. We learned that Pedro went through the same, or Din went through the same process that that Grogu's going through. So I agree with you full-heartedly, where it's like it's just a very long-term view of eventually we'll be like, yes, Grogu wearing Beskar armor, Mandalorian, yes.
And it's one of those things too that I think now that the culmination of season 3 has happened, Mando could pop up in another season, hypothetical, of The Book of Boba Fett, in Ahsoka, in another show that happens. Like, he doesn't have to be centralized to The Mandalorian show title.
Yeah. By the way, I agree with your theory. My theory was that they canceled the Rangers Republic show, right? Whatever that was supposed to be called.
I think that is back on the shelf. And
okay. So my theory was, I wasn't sure if they were canceling or not. I didn't do research, but I just got the vibe that because of like how this ended with him working with the New Republic, I was like, what if they're just folding that show into like Mandalorian season 4?
That's what they've kind of said from like news that I've like picked up, is like they're folding what that show was going to be, plot premises, into all these other shows.
Okay, that's cool. But yeah, no,
especially now that it seems like Carson Teva is like a much bigger role than I think we initially like thought.
Yeah, agreed.
I think the other kind of like left out piece from this episode is, were you expecting Grogu to kind of take something to the chest so that Beskar chest plate would protect him?
Yes, unfortunately, yeah.
I was surprised that they didn't go that route, because it's like, we all know it's there, but if you're watching week to week or you're watching binge, like sometimes you just forget stuff. And I feel like that's one of those things that a lot of people probably forgot about last week's episode, or whatever episode it was that he got the chest plate. And it's like, you could have had that happen. It's like, oh, he's got the Beskar chest plate. He's good. He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. My child's fine. No, it would have been intriguing and interesting to see that happen. I'm sure it would have been more stressful, but nonetheless, it did not happen.
The other loose ends from this season, what do you think happened to Dr. Pershing now? Because obviously he got mind flayed. He's lost all remnants of everything that happened. Do we ever see him again?
Yes, I think you do. Why would they waste? Not waste. It's a bad choice of words. No, I'll say waste. Why would they use the whole episode for him then just not again? It's just weird plot points, and the fact that he is now the only one alive besides Gleason's whatever his dude's name is, besides the one guy's son, Hux, or dad, not
the
son.
dad, yeah.
because no one else really seems to be into cloning or like know what it is. So he's
And
like,
then obviously Homegirl that mind flayed Pershing
yeah,
too. That
she's annoying,
was
like her.
she is one of those villains that you can't stand her, but she does a damn good job of being a villain.
Yeah, that's true.
On top of that, I do find it weird that we did have that entire episode dedicated to Pershing and like the entire like revamping of um everything and being on Coruscant. I do think it is more so with that character to be kind of like a Moff Gideon Empire First Order spy on Coruscant and have somebody there like working from the inside out to
Might as well.
build things up. Um Also, we kind of had an egg on our face. The armor so far not bad.
Anything with
Axe
that?
Woves not bad.
He's very nice. He almost went down with the ship.
Yeah, he is that dude. Do we ever think the armor that it will surface that she has anything bad about her?
Yes, I think she's going to be ex Death Watch, and I think she might want to eventually have some power for herself, and there might be power struggle because Din does not care. Axe Wolf seems like he doesn't care, and I think that that will happen, and or that she'll be a spy.
And then season 4, I think, we both said we kind of agree with where season 4 kind of goes. Outside of Ahsoka, and we just had Star Wars Celebration and everything. We recapped a bunch of that. Do you think Mando could show up in Ahsoka? And 2, other than that, is the next time we see Din and Grogu in The Mandalorian season 4?
They might make a guest appearance in terms of seeing them before season 4. So I definitely think we could see them in Ahsoka. I know it might be like a Thrawn type situation where you just kind of get like a name drop and get like a little glimpse, or maybe they have a conversation because she does know Ahsoka, so it wouldn't be. I kind of hope that we don't though, just because I feel like I don't know. If the show is good, I think it'll be fine. But like think about it like this: when we saw Mando in the Book of Boba Fett, he was like one of the only good things about the Book of Boba Fett. And that's not a good thing. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping they didn't develop the show to rely on Grogu and the Mandalorian again. You know what I mean? I'm hoping they actually let Rosario Dawson cook.
Totally.
Okay.
I do think, obviously I'm saying this having at this moment in time not watched the Bad Batch yet, but I have been told a number of times that we need to watch it. So that is on the agenda as well for us, for the Star Wars fans out there. The Bad Batch is on our docket, and obviously Rebels will be before we watch Ahsoka. Is it bad that I, without knowing anything truly about the Bad Batch, would it be weird to see Dan and Grogu in animation?
I don't think it would be that weird. It might be weird, but I think it's not impossible.
Like, would that be out of left field per se? Obviously, we don't know anything that happens in that show or kind of where it lines up per se. But it would be kind of cool if
it
we
would be
saw.
Cool. I'm not sure if it would happen, but it would be interesting. I do agree.
Especially since the Bad Batch, they're only going to do 3 seasons. Like the next season's the final season, so would be pretty interesting if they brought Din and Grogu into animation, kind of reverse everything from the Filoni brain and put him in animation. That would be kind of cool too, because we've seen the crossover of the animated characters come into live action and it be canon. So it'd be kind of cool if they did the reverse too and do that. But I agree with you. I hope they let Rosario Dawson cook, let the live action cast of Rebels cook, and let Thrawn cook, obviously.
Thrawn cook.
Dylan, before we get to our grades and reviews, this episode of The Mandalorian on Rotten Tomatoes, as we always talk about, it scored a 76% based on reviews of 17 critics. The website's critical consensus reads A disjointed season yields a clunky climax, but the return concludes this particular saga on a high enough note while also promising a fresh start for The Mandalorian going forward. I can agree with that pretty much across the board, and I think this season in particular, we talked about it, the episode with Jack Black and Lizzo and everything. It did feel like a lot of live action Clone Wars was taking place in this season.
Yeah, it definitely did. It just felt like it was. Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
So, Dylan, without any further ado, we will give our Chapter 24 grade, and then we will give our overall Mandalorian Season 3 grade for the record book. But I will start with your Chapter 24 grade for The Mandalorian, the season finale.
So the grade just for this episode is going to be not super high. I've kind of talked about this whole episode how I disagree with quite a few things. The number that stuck out to me is this 7. I know it's on the lower side for me for this show, but it is what it is.
I'm gonna give it an 8.3.
Respect that.
It's pretty solid. There was a lot of good, like you mentioned, there like a lot of good like optical aspects, a lot of good visual aspects. I thought the fight scenes overall were really, really good and some of the best that we've gotten in like this era of live action Star Wars. But there was it still leaves a lot of plot holes, which obviously if you're going to make do on 3 more seasons of this show, you hope that they'll get filled as we progress and everything. But now we gotta wait. We gotta wait for more Mandalorian before we get those answers. So I'm gonna give it an 8.3. Dylan gives it a 7. So for the quick math at home, everybody, that's 15.3. You divide that by 2 and round up. It's a 7.7 out of 10 for the finale. Now, Dylan, we get to just your second overall grade for a show / movie this year so far. The Mandalorian Season 3, your only other grade this year is obviously for another Pedro Pascal project, The Last of Us Season 1, which you gave a 9.6 out of 10, which we all gave it a 9.6 out of 10 for that. But Dylan, your score for the overall season that was The Mandalorian Season 3.
Honestly, probably around where our average came in. I would say like 7.8 is what because it started off kind of bad and then it gets better and then it ends on a note that I don't like, and I don't want to give it into an 8 because I feel like that's too rewarding, but I don't want to like bomb it. So I think 7.8 is probably where I would say as a whole.
I'm just looking back at the old friend that was the Book of Mando Fett, to see what the score I gave that was.
I think I gave that like a 7 point something.
You gave it a flat 7.
Okay.
I'm going to give this season of The Mandalorian because it was entertaining. Like that's the thing too. Like
that's why I still gave it.
Yeah, it's not like it was a bad product for everybody at home listening. Like it was a good season. Was it the best season of the show? No. But it added a lot more to the overall like plot arc and everything of these characters and stuff. We got great appearances, we got great fight scenes, and it did leave you wanting more at the end. So I think I'm going to give it an 8.4, right on par with the Book of Boba Fett.
Respectable.
But that's in a better light of the Book of Boba Fett, I would say. The Book of Boba Fett also got the benefit of the doubt that was the very first show we ever kept a running score for. So I don't know if it would have an 8.4 moving forward if we did it again. But I'm going to give Mando Season 3 an 8.4. Dylan gave it a 7.8. So for the quick math at home, that's 16.2 divided by 2.
You're doing math.
Gives it an 8.1 out of 10 for the overall score, which I mean, it being in the 8s as a whole, I think is pretty solid. Pretty deserving, I'd say, for most of the season.
Yeah.
And I think low 8s is overall pretty good for this season of The Mandalorian.
Agreed.
So there is our full-on recap of season 3 of The Mandalorian, another season of our flagship show. This is the first show that started this format of streamer season. So shout out to Daddy Pedro, Daddy Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and the rest of The Mandalorian on another successful season, and can't wait for even more of what's to come with this show. But without any further ado, Dylan, let us take it from a galaxy far, far away to one that's right here at home. We're going to talk about streaming, but live, and it's brought to you by our friends at PHI Apparel Company, our awesome merch partners, the best in the game. They provide the best, most comfortable, and unique designs for the great fans of Philadelphia, and of course, the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast network, which, if you didn't know, that includes us, guys. StreamerSZN merch available to purchase. We got t-shirts, we got hoodies. We're working on some stuff for the spring and summer, as that is full blown here, as the nicer weather is here now. We're gonna have new designs available for some hot new stuff that we're working on, so you're gonna want to stay tuned for that. And there's no doubt that when you're going to the movie theater, when you're Netflix and chilling, or you're having a nice little family movie night get together, you're going to stand out by rocking your StreamerSZN merch. You guys can use our code Underground for 10% off any and all orders when you shop online at phiapparel.co. That's phiapparel.co. Use code Underground for 10% off any apparel when you shop with our great merch partners, PHI Apparel Company. All right, Dylan, let's dissect this whole Love Is Blind conundrum. I do not watch the show. It just made its way onto my timeline. Everything that was going on.
I have that with the show.
So Love Is Blind took the streaming universe by storm during the Pandy Wandy, and has since curated a cult following, and they decided that they were going to make their reunion a live reunion and have it be live on Netflix.
Yes.
We've seen some other streaming platforms, most notably Disney Plus, and Netflix had recently done this with Chris Rock's comedy special. It was streamed live to watch before they, edited it and cut it down to be what it was going to be. Disney Plus has also done a full season of Dancing with the Stars live on Disney Plus, and they have dabbled in some other things, I think, too, on the live scale of things. The Love Is Blind reunion, there was some technical issues that they said was going to take about 10 to 15 minutes to resolve. And nobody could get in on the servers. Servers were overloading. Fast forward 90 minutes, so an hour and a half. It was supposed to start at 8. It was not available until 9:30 with a response saying that they were sorry for what had happened. They were going to film the reunion and then upload it to Netflix after, and they apologize for making everybody wait so long, this, that, and the third. Now, could that have been a thing where, from what I heard, allegedly, like, one of the couples or two of the people that were on the show were just magically not there? So was there some sort of beef that happened that, while they were doing it live, something happened and it's like, oh, cut the servers. Like, that's the conspiracy brain of a lot of people. The other thing is just like, they were not ready for the immense amount of people who were going to be tuning in live. And it brings me the question that I posed to you before we started recording. Do streaming platforms need to do live content?
Honestly, maybe it's a hot take, but I don't think so. I think maybe like exclusives, but like when you go over to the live content, it kind of goes to like what Hulu does with live sports, but Hulu doesn't necessarily have the live sports. It's piggybacking on the live sports. It's not its own, It's like, it's not its own entity. Also, Hulu happens to be owned by Disney, which also owns ESPN. So it's like a lot of merging. Whereas if Netflix tries live streaming this reality TV show, that is on them to put their product out there like live. So they have to have the infrastructure. And granted, they should, but they didn't expect it. And that goes with any streaming service, whether it's HBO, whatever. Because I just feel like streaming services generically give you movies and TV shows, not live things. I just feel like it should stay that way. I mean, maybe we could explore with like live releases, like how they've done before. Like keep doing like some movies come out like right away, and they also come out in theater. That's different. Maybe pay a little extra money in the future to like see it right away on your TV rather than go to the theaters. But in terms of like live content, I don't know if it's needed. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't watch some of it, but I just don't know if it's like thinking like a business person, which is the industry that I unfortunately happen to be in. I just feel like it's an unnecessary like cost. You know what I mean? Like it's just creating. I don't know the tech nuances, but it has to be super expensive to live stream something of that caliber.
And I think it's different from, your typical HBO Max server crashing when Game of Thrones is premiering or, Succession is premiering, because that's something that's already recorded and they're just putting that file onto the streaming platform and just saying, okay, this goes live at this time.
Although you would get more candid reality TV if it was legit live.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's the cap I just said.
It's like, I think it's one of those things that I think this was a good litmus test for a streaming mogul like Netflix, who, we have had gripes with it in the past on this show, and we have said it also does some things that are really, really good. I think this is a good litmus test for all of the streaming platforms to kind of get an idea of, I don't think they're ready for the live content just yet.
That's true. And maybe we'll dive back to that. But I think ultimately we're on the same page where it's a no for now. It's a no for me, dog.
Especially something that is like of that like realm, that is Love is Blind, that is in like that Bachelor, Bachelorette, the dating show type of things. Those type of shows gain such a cult following from all age groups, where, they did the live Chris Rock viewing of his comedy special. I think it's totally different because Chris Rock has a certain age demo that he hits with his comedy.
Oh, so you're saying if someone messes up and does something on live television, it's not good because people are watching that maybe shouldn't see that said, criteria, whereas hopefully a comedy special everyone watching is of it, like
I think it's that, and then I think it's also like in terms of just the influx of people who are like turning on Netflix, trying to watch it live, you're getting a lot more households and a lot more people tuning in to that, because I think a Love is Blind, or, as an example, like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, if they were doing that live on a streaming platform, you're going to get way more households and way more Netflix accounts tuning into that live to crash your servers as a whole. So I think this may help, Netflix in terms of just recalibrating their servers and the intake that they have on cult following programs like that, and if they feel like they need to do it live.
I can fully agree.
So let us know in the YouTube comment section your thoughts on streaming platforms doing live content. Should they do it? Should they focus more on just, getting content out there for the people? Or should it be a little mixture of both? Because it's also like, if you're doing live content, you can just do live content on a cable channel, and what's stopping people from canceling your service and just going back to cable?
Yeah, sorry. No, I fully agree. I think we're on the same page there with the streaming services not doing live stuff just yet.
So, without any further ado, like I said, let us know in the comment section your thoughts on that. And without any further ado, let's get to everybody's favorite segment. It is the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by Dylan's beverage of choice, Kenwood Beer, the official beer of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Guys, they're the best in the game. Why would you not want to crack open an ice cold Kenny when you're watching your favorite movies and shows? Dylan, you've had Kenwood in your time. Is it not one of the most delicious, if not the most delicious beer you ever had?
Yeah, no, it's very good. It's very refreshing. It's light. It's 4.1%. So you can have a few responsibly and be okay. And it's good taste.
It's 4.1%, like Dylan said, ABV, 127 calories, 10 grams of carbs. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny tracker to see who has Kenwood beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. You can buy Kenwood at your local Philadelphia area liquor store, or if you're in Eastern Pennsylvania, you can get it at your local Whole Foods. Light body, light calories, plenty of flavor, the best light beer on the planet. You must be 21 or older to do so. And of course, guys, please drink responsibly. Dylan, the big news coming across the timeline just about 3 hours ago, according to Deadline, we're going to get into the Sony Spider-Verse, but in talks to star in Venom 3 is Juno Temple.
I have to Google who that is.
Juno Temple for the people. You may know her from
It's the girl from Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso, Killer Joe, The Offer, Year One. She was in Maleficent in 2014. She was in The Dark Knight Rises. Whole lot of projects. That's a big name for the Sonyverse right there to get in Venom 3. Not sure what the role would be, but sign me up. Big fan.
Yeah, no, good for her.
Looking here next. Let's just dive right into the Sony Spider-Verse, Dylan.
Okay.
We got confirmation today from the big old Disney Plus that by the time you guys are listening to this, Friday, April 21st, on Disney Plus, you will have the original Tobey Maguire trilogy Spider-Man movies, along with The Amazing Spider-Man, the first Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, on Disney Plus. You will also, on May 12th, on Disney Plus, have Spider-Man Homecoming, the very first Tom Holland Spider-Man standalone movie, as well as Venom 1 on May 12th. The Starz contract with Sony is now over. So now, over the next, I believe it's like 5 or 7 years, the Sony Spider-Verse movies, Dylan, will be jumping between Disney Plus and Netflix, because April 1st, the Tobey trilogy was put on Netflix, and they'll be bouncing back and forth now. And that is why Sony was like, we need to get No Way Home into theaters before 2022 starts, because the contract ended on January 1, 2022. And obviously, No Way Home was in theaters December of 2021. But this is very exciting. I think this helps a lot of people who have not gotten to see these movies in a long time, if at all ever. The Tobey movies 100% are on the docket for us to review. I have personally never seen the Garfield movies yet, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, just because it was like one of those things when they came out in theaters. It was like, that's not my Spider-Man. Spider-Man is Tobey Maguire. I don't like that. But I love Andrew Garfield now that I'm a sophisticated and grown adult and can appreciate other people playing a role, and I'm not a petulant child. So I will also be watching those movies for the very first time and giving my reviews on that faux show. I'm very excited, though, because I think it adds to the people like our boys, DJ, who is almost fully done. He's just doing the Netflix shows, and then Patty Pitts, who are on their Marvel watch journeys and catching up on everything Marvel. So it's a good sign. It's a good thing in terms of just full on continuity, if you will.
They're almost there.
Dylan, this makes me excited since we're both comic book boys.
That is what I am.
Marvel announces that Layla L. Faouli, if you remember back from our watch of Moon Knight,
yes,
will be making her comics debut this July 25th issue of Moon Knight. The character will take on the mantle of the Scarlet Scarab in Moon Knight City of the Dead, a 5-issue limited series from David Pepose and Marcelo Ferreira. Let's go.
Cool. That's awesome. Good for her to be able to be to be the first.
Very excited about that. And I think when things happen in the comics, it helps it have more of an easier flow into the shows and movies too. So very excited about that. Some stuff we're not very excited about is
Oh no.
Jonathan Majors, Dylan.
Oh yeah, I heard he has a line of people now talking about how bad he is.
Not great. Multiple alleged abuse victims for Jonathan Majors have come forward following his arrest and are cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Not great for a guy who was supposed to be this next big thing, and it all comes crumbling down as soon as his 2 movies come out. And
he was supposed to be the next big thing.
Not ideal. Not ideal. And obviously we hope that, these are alleged. We hope that if unfortunately these things did happen, that the victims are able to, get the proper help and recovery and everything else that they need. And
we hope he's trying, if it is in fact factual.
Correct. And, hopefully, full-blown truth comes to light about the entire situation one way or another. It's unfortunate either way, but we hope that the alleged victims are able to get the help that they need. We got a quote here from Emily Swallow, aka the Armorer, Dylan.
Yeah.
She hopes fans use The Mandalorian Season 3 to see, quote, there is value in allowing yourself to be uncomfortable and in listening to opinions that are challenging to you and working through that discomfort.
It's pretty hashtag deep.
Pretty hashtag deep indeed. Jodie Turner-Smith reveals she decided to join the Acolyte after Kogonada told her that he was directing episodes of the series. Quote, I respect him so deeply, I will follow him into any fire.
Wow. That's
high praise. That's high praise.
That's as deep as it gets, I think.
James Gunn's Superman Legacy will reportedly begin filming in January in the ATL.
Okay. I'm curious to see how that goes.
Are you and I in the same page with Superman? Like, does Superman move the needle for you in any way?
No, I don't think he does. But I do think he's
awesome. Who does move the needle for us? Daddy James Gunn.
I thought you were going to say Michael Fassbender, but yeah.
That too.
Yeah. No, I agree, though.
Dylan, can I pique your interest? Are you at all interested in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always streaming on Netflix?
I think they're gonna have a bunch of them, right? Is that what I saw?
I think so.
I'm intrigued.
Are you intrigued by this? According to Deadline, Will Ferrell will star in an untitled comedy series about golf with Ryan Johnson, our guy, obviously known for the Knives Out universe and Poker Face, set to executive produce.
Yeah, I'm always down for that. That sounds cool.
We've got James Cameron up to his shenanigans once again with all of his movies, Dylan, as Avatar: The Way of Water is returning to IMAX theaters on April 21st to celebrate Earth Day.
I'm down. Once again.
That is also James Cameron saying, I'm putting this back in so that my movie can climb up the ranks of the highest grossing films of all time again.
Good old James Cameron.
Timothée Chalamet is starring in a Chanel commercial directed by Martin Scorsese.
That
sounds like a Mad Lib.
Yeah, I was gonna say that doesn't sound real, but I'm with it.
Dylan, we've got a follow-up to the clip that we put out on the social medias this past week.
Hey, responses?
Woody Harrelson confirms Matthew McConaughey might be his biological brother. Quote.
So
we got a quote from Woody.
So what you're saying is there's a chance.
We want to go for a DNA test, but for him, it's a much more big deal. He feels like he is losing a father. I'm like, no, you're gaining a different father and a brother. That is the most movie line of real life.
Yeah, that's very movie line of real life. Like it though.
The plot thickens as people called us out for our YouTube short. It's like they're not brothers. It's like there's a whole story where they think they're brothers.
Yeah,
They both have now confirmed that they think it could be possible.
we know what we're talking about, right? We're professionals.
Let's see here. Moving right along.
I think we're professionals.
So we've got from Deadline, Jenny Slate will star in Mindful, a horror movie about a possessed meditation app that begins to kill its followers.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit that one out, Chief. I'm gonna keep it real. Yeah.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I don't think I like that one very much.
Dylan, I think last week or the week before we talked about the Harry Potter series coming to Max.
Yes.
Well, we've got another book from our teen years getting made into a reboot series.
What is it?
Twilight.
Okay.
Is getting a reboot series, and author Stephanie Meyer will be involved. Lionsgate will develop the series before trying to sell it to a streaming service or network.
Twilight didn't need a first one, so why does it need a reboot?
It's very strange. Let's get some original designs out here. Moving right along. Elemental, the Disney Pixar film that I'm actually pretty excited about, is the fourth Pixar film to debut at Cannes, the film festival, following Up, Inside Out, and Soul. So I think if you take anything from those three movies that debuted there, I think all three of those Pixar films are fantastic. Makes me even more excited for Elemental.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it.
Moving right along here. This is interesting, and I wonder what Christian's thoughts are on this. But Netflix co-CEO Ted Sarandos says there's no plans to send more Netflix films to theaters. Quote, driving folks to a theater is just not our business. Having big, new, desirable content drives value for our members and drives value for our business.
I mean, it's kind of staying true to what they were in one sense, so don't necessarily disagree. But it is interesting given the stakes of streaming and movies in the world.
Angelina Jolie and Halle Berry will star in Maud vs. Maud, with Roseanne Liang set to direct. The film is described as a Bond versus Bourne type of action thriller.
It's a pretty two good female leads to be playing super spies.
This next one, this is another show that I have seen a lot and kind of intrigued by. The Night Agent on Netflix, Dylan. It has become Netflix's number 6 most watched English language series of all time.
Wow. That's pretty popular.
Pretty wild. Moving right along here. So we have more follow-up too. This was earlier in the week on Jonathan Majors. He has been dropped from a number of projects as well as his management and publicity team. The projects that he's been dropped from include an adaptation of The Man in My Basement, an ad campaign for the Texas Rangers Major League Baseball team, and a Fifth Estate Otis Redding biopic.
Oof.
Tough.
He deserves it. He's guilty.
Yeah. According to ET Canada, Ryan Reynolds says that says what they pitched Hugh Jackman on Wolverine in Deadpool 3 is, quote, enough of a divergence from the character he knows and he's left behind. It gives him something completely new to play and something that he's really excited to do.
I'm intrigued.
Moving right along here, George Lucas's American Graffiti will be streaming on Netflix on May 1st. That is obviously his claim to fame there before Star Wars. Dylan, I can't wait to hear your thoughts here as we have more in the Netflix password sharing, anti-password sharing efforts.
Narcs, what? What do the Narcs want?
In their anti-password sharing efforts, Netflix will start blocking devices after a certain period of time that attempt to access an account without properly paying.
Yeah, fuck them.
They will begin the crackdown on password sharing in the U.S. during the second quarter of this year. The company will give users the option to add 2 more people outside of their homes for an additional cost.
Yeah, fuck Netflix for that.
And in quarter 1 of 2023, Netflix has added 1.75 million new subscribers.
Smell.
And more Netflix news, they are shutting down their DVD business after 25 years.
I guess that makes sense. No one who uses the DVD anymore.
Very true. Ryan Reynolds, Jason Momoa, Vince Vaughn, and Aubrey Plaza have been cast in Animal Friends. The film is described as a live-action/animated hybrid R-rated road trip adventure film from director Peter Atencio.
That's intriguing. Sorry, the Netflix thing had me doing some research. I'm pissed.
Looking here. Now streaming on Netflix, still in the final season of Better Call Saul.
I need to watch that. That's a show that I'm intrigued about because I've heard really positive things about it. I've heard it's one of the best television shows of all time.
This is very exciting. Aziz Ansari is set to make his directorial debut, titled Good Fortune. The comedy star Ansari himself, alongside Keanu Reeves and Seth Rogen.
Interesting.
Color me intrigued.
I'll tune in for that one.
Releasing on June 16th on Disney Plus. This is something we talked about last year when they announced it. Marvel's Stan Lee documentary, June 16th on Disney Plus. I'm very excited about that. Celebrating 100 years of Stan Lee.
Yeah, I think it's well deserved, so I'll definitely tune in.
Looking here as we continue pushing forward on these final bits here. Haven't seen it yet, but I am trying to get to the theaters to see this. Peaches from the Super Mario Brothers movie has been added to the Billboard Hot 100.
Yeah, it's been trending all over the place. The Peaches.
Everywhere. Looking here. This is interesting from the business aspect of streaming platforms. Amazon Prime Video has launched a new feature called Dialogue Boost on select titles. The feature is described as a, quote, AI-based approach that allows viewers to adjust the volume of spoken dialogue without changing the volume of background music or sound effects.
Yeah, I saw the Snapchat has an AI too. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that creeped me out today.
So this is for Amazon Prime for select titles, and the one that's in the photo here shows Jack Ryan.
I don't want no robots messing with my Snapchat.
Yeah, I don't want no robots messing with my TV either.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think I speak for everyone there.
Last bit here. Let's see.
Searching
Here.
While Kyle is searching for the last bit, remember to leave us recommendations on what you want us to watch. Someone literally just did it, and also someone did it earlier. That's why I watched Chernobyl. And ironically, I started watching Beef, the one that they just recommended. So you too could recommend something that could be covered on this pod. I'm only saying this now, a little out of order, because Kyle is currently searching for news, and I wanted to not have awkward silence.
Well, we do have a release date that Christian sent us for a show that we definitely want to watch. HBO original White House Plumbers premieres May 1st on HBO Max. Very excited about that show. It's like a All the President's Men type of thing, which is one of my favorite movies ever. Very excited about that one. Chad Stahelski, apologize if I butchered that one. He's named some actors that he would love to work with in the John Wick universe, Dylan.
Okay.
Colin Farrell.
I would like to, yeah.
Michelle Yeoh.
Wow. He's going all out.
Cillian Murphy.
Wow.
Peter Dinklage.
Wow. I like Peter Dinklage. Game of Thrones boy.
Charlize Theron. Journey Smollett. And Robert Downey Jr.
Well, it's official. I'm interested now.
Let's see here. Dylan, you'll like this. Animated content and anime, Suzume has passed $280 million worldwide.
What? I don't know what this is. But yeah, it's cool. Suzume. Oh, cool. Good for that.
And let's see here. Anything else from the last week that was? I believe that is everything we've got. Oh, we do have a Knuckles spin-off series from the Sonic movie. Has begun filming. Adam Pally, Kid Cudi, Eddie Patterson, Julian Barrett, Ellie Taylor, Rory McCann, and Tika Sumpter will star in the series. It's just adding Dylan, Super Smash Brothers universe.
Yes, we know. The tinfoil hat.
Let's get it. But yes, now everybody, the Love is Blind reunion is available globally on Netflix to go watch. So if you consume it, go enjoy it. But that's all we got for you guys on this episode. Make sure you're following us at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram. Follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple and Spotify. Dylan, say the line one more time for the people, you glorious human you.
Leave us those recommendations on what to watch. You can do it via YouTube comments. You can do it via reviews. Let us know what show or movie you want us to watch on any of the streaming services.
You can also do it in the YouTube comment section, youtube.com/@undergroundsportsphiladelphia. Subscribe over there. It really does help. Trying to get to 500 subscribers, trying to get to 1,000. Obviously, you guys know what goes down when we hit 1K. Smash that like button, ring the bell icon, comment down below your thoughts on everything Dylan and I discussed on today's episode. Thought we had some healthy, fun discourse, a little opposite of the norm, what we usually do, but very fun stuff. And we'll be back. Big thank you to our merch partners too, PHI Apparel Company. Go get your merch, phiapparel.co. Code Underground, 10% off any and all orders. And this has been another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform, TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Dylan, I'm KB. We are going to go to our galaxy far, far away cottages, hopefully try to not live stream a live streaming platform event, and just get ready to believe, because Ted Lasso comes to the docket next week.
Yeah.
Let's ride. We'll see you guys next time.